Hello all and merry meet. I thought I would do a beginner's sort of video on Wicca and basically the very beginning, so from where it comes from. The very beginnings, the birth of Wicca. So firstly, Wicca is one of the most fastest growing religions in the world at the moment. And the followers themselves, so the people who believe in Wicca, the people who are Wiccan, worship the god and goddess of nature. And we believe we can cast spells. So we cast spells and we put our energy out into the universe. Again, you can go on forever about what Wiccans do and why they do it. However, with Wicca and paganism is an ancient religion. However, Wicca is slightly more modern. So Wicca didn't come about into the 1940s, but firstly we'll say there's a long-lasting presumption about paganism, Wicca, that we worship the devil or Satan, or however you may call them. However, this is very far from the truth, as we do not believe there is a devil as such. The devil is a Christian-made fictional character to scare people into basically following the Bible. And again, we can go into Christianity, but we won't do that today. But devil was man-made by Christianity. One of the most extraordinary things about Wicca is, like I said, is how it's born. So although paganism is an ancient folk religion, Wicca was actually developed in the 1940s by a man who lived in the New Forest, and his name was Gerald Gardner. Now, I'm quite fortunate because the New Forest is only down the road from me, and I live in Hampshire, so I'm quite lucky. So we'll start. So this extraordinary Englishman reinvented witchcraft and became Britain's first celebrity witch. So Wiccans are notoriously known for their secretive manner. For example, we don't go to church, but we perform our rituals in the forest or out in nature. And all the beginnings of this, and obviously it was paganism, but this man, Gerald Gardner, actually invented Wicca in the 1940s, which is very strange, especially some would think for a man, they would assume it would be a woman, but it's quite interesting. So a little bit of history about Gerald Gardner. In about 1938, a 52-year-old man, ex-colonial gent called Gerald Gardner, retired with his wife to the south coast of England. And this place was called High Cliff. However, hidden just beneath the surface 75 years ago, give or take a year or two, there was something very strange about this place, and it didn't take long for Gerald to find out what that was. I've got some notes on my screen, so just so I can structure this properly, so if you see me looking up, that's why. So firstly, High Cliff was a hotspot for naturists. So there was a lot of naturists in High Cliff and in that area. And despite Gerald's background, there was nothing he liked more than getting involved with that. So in his back garden, he basically turned it into a naturist's paradise, and there was bankers, accountants, teachers from all different walks of life, and they would join him in these little parties. And he was even a keen photographer, so he had a darkroom in his house, which is quite interesting. His appearance was very interesting as well. So he had like wild, white, chalky, thick hair that looked like smoke stopped in motion. So he was a very unique looking man. People would stop on the streets and sort of look at him and think, oh, no. So that's interesting. And I promise I'll stop saying, so that's interesting. And he had tattoos all up his arms as well. So that's very colonial, I would say. But a lot of people didn't have tattoos unless they were in the army or anything like that back in those days. So this wasn't the strangest thing about this like quaint, quiet little village. A small little house in Hampshire in 1939 was where Gerald would first be initiated into witchcraft. So he began starting to get really like more interested in this, and found that there was something more, and that he felt it, and that really resonated with him. So he ended up in this house in Hampshire, and he claimed that he was stripped naked and brought into a room full of witches, all similarly nude, and then proceeded to tell him secrets about this ancient religion, and the word Wicca was mentioned. So, you know, bells go off, witches still exist. So a lot of people still don't think that's a thing. People think witches are extinct, or however else they think, or they're not real. And it was after this moment that Gerald made his life's mission to spread the Wiccan word into the world. He wrote books, initiated others, so that Wicca wouldn't die with him. And it's quite a shame, really, because his past was quite his past was quite sad, because his family, he grew up in Lancashire, and his family were in the timber fortune, so they made a fortune on timber, and that was their family business. And because he was quite a sickly child, they sent him away at the age of 6 with his nanny, and they basically travelled the world. And he didn't go to school, so he had no schooling either, so everything he learned was by travelling. And this made him very interested. Well, he found that he was interested in tribal magic and things like this, and he wrote about it in his books. So this was another little thing in the back of his head that prompted him to lean more towards witchcraft, because he was already interested in similar things that happen culturally in other parts of the world. So when he came back to England, he's a very intelligent, well-travelled man. He even warded off, with a group of witches, he warded off Hitler back in the war. They basically put into the universe, do not cross the sea. And a few witches died shortly after that because of the amount of energy they put into it. And it's a very real thing. And this is only a very quick fire information sort of thing about Gerald Gardner. There's so much more about him that you should look up. It's a very interesting man. And he basically became Britain's first celebrity witch. And that's where Wicca came from. So from the 1940s, a man called Gerald Gardner invented Wicca from paganism. And it's very important to look into that and look more into that. Like I said, this is just a quick fire info about where Wicca came from. So I hope you enjoyed this very short video. I will be posting more, and just give me a little bit of feedback, and if there's anything you want to know, then I'll be happy to put it into a video. Okay, thank you. Bless be.